And what's happening, everyone? It's Kyle from Magpie 24/7. I hope it's all good on this Saturday morning. Now, England. I didn't think I'd be doing many England videos over the Euros, but me and Paul were kind of just to say why not at the last second. But last night that England game was against Scotland. What a heap of shit! It was flipping terrible. we just never got going. Scotland, to be honest, probably should have won the game, and I thought with 10 minutes to go, they were going to nick it. There was literally, I think, barring the chance from Stones, where he hit the post, I don't think England had any other concrete chances, barring like the pinball thing in the last second of the game. But yeah, I wasn't too pleased with yesterday's game. Like, I just thought we never got going. The Harry Kane looks so isolated up front. Like, we need to get him service, and it's like at times when wide players are so quick, he's struggling to keep up with them. And it's like, Harry Kane's a world-class centre forward. You just need to like use him, and you play to his strengths. But I just feel like the concerns that a lot of England fans had when Southgate was appointed are starting to come to the fore now, where tactically maybe leaves a lot to be desired. Doesn't make decisions quick enough, dropping the wrong players, playing the wrong players. It just doesn't add up. And like, for me personally, I think this England team is the most talented it's been probably since 2007, 2008, when we had the golden generation, if you will. And Steve McClaren didn't get that at the flipping Euro 2008. But in terms of raw talent, like, not many countries could leave someone with the talent of Aaron Wan-Bissaka at home, or could afford to, or the talent of a James Maddison, or even a Callum Wilson, or a Patrick Bamford. Like, across the board, England have left really good players at home because the depth is so good, and the strength and depth, it must leave Southgate with a headache or two every squad selection. But something just didn't make sense from the get-go. I feel like playing two holding midfielders against Scotland really didn't work because McGinn had a lot of space in the midfield. McTominay had a lot of space in the midfield as well. And in the midfield, Scotland were very much a match for England. They managed to match were across the board, to be fair. But for me, I think the responsibility's got to go to the manager on this one. I think we could have played a little bit more risky. I mean, as Newcastle fans, we know from all season we've had a similar frustration where we've had good attacking players, but the manager's kind of held it back because he's useless. So we know all too well how this feels, and it's like, it's just frustrating because we're thinking, oh, no, Newcastle end of the season get to see some good football. We'll see flipping England 0, Scotland 0, flipping great. But I mean, if you look over the two games, we've yet to concede a goal. So 2 clean sheets. Going forward, again, we'll leave a lot to be desired, sadly. But I think we'll get through. I think we'll either get a point or we'll beat the Czech Republic. So we're looking good to get into the next round. But if England are serious about winning this tournament, we need to start going through the gears a little bit, because even in the pre-season, well, the before tournament friendlies, if you will, we looked off the pace going forward, and people will be like, oh, well, it's friendlies, and it's just a friendly, you warm up, and that's where they get used to playing together, and etc., etc. But we're at the tournament now, and it's like, I still feel like the attacking flow of things is in that cycle of kind of just trying to get used to playing together and stuff, and it's just like, for me, it's like they need to get the shit together before we inevitably play a France or a Germany, because we've got the group of death in the next round. We've got one of them, or Portugal, and the mistakes that were made against Scotland, Croatia, we cannot make them same mistakes against these better teams because they've got the players to punish with, and that happened in the World Cup. Like, I know Southgate gets a lot of credit for uniting a country, which he did in 2018, and kudos to him with his players in 2018. But you've got to realise we did get really lucky as well. we got a really we finished second in a group, and we didn't have any top team until the semi-final. Like, yeah, you can say like Sweden, okay, a team of England's stature should be beating Sweden. Colombia should be beating Colombia. You know, Croatia being like the first big task in the knockout stage for England 2 years ago, and the beat, you know what I mean. So it's like, for me, Southgate at a high level needs to prove he can beat these bigger teams, because you look at the Nations League, got beat off the Netherlands. Like, it just, for me, top level, that's where the question is. Like, that's just slightly away from the dismal performance of yesterday, but can Southgate prove he's a top international manager by beating these bigger sides? Because if we don't improve, then we'll be out in the round of 16, and it'll be really disappointing. But yeah, it's in terms of the football, there's really not much to talk about. Sadly, there wasn't much of a football match there. It was just a slugfest, to be honest, a ball fest. So, but yeah, I think we've got to improve. Southgate's got to improve tactically. I mean, there's a coach, Graham Jones. He has the experience, you know, of sorting an average manager's problems out. So get Graham Jones on it, and I'm sure he'll sort it. But in terms of Magpie 24/7, got a podcast coming out on YouTube later on. Basically, I put it on there, like audio and stuff. I put on Spotify and iTunes and all that, the podcast, and forgot to put it on YouTube. So I'll put it on YouTube later. That's part one of where player ratings / keep or sell for the season for Newcastle, and then a part two will be going out on Sunday on everything. So yeah, so stay tuned for that. As for England, Paul does the previews, I do the reviews. So yeah, we're going to keep going with that throughout the tournament. Stay tuned for everything coming on Magpie 24/7 next season. And yeah, leave a comment. How do you think of the game, and how do you think England can progress? Do you think Southgate's the right man? It's a good question. That's one for another podcast. But that'll be it for me for now. I'll not keep you too long. I'll love yous and leave yous, and I'll catch you in a bit.
It's another view from the van with Paul from Magpie 24/7. Driving strong opinions on everything Newcastle United. Magpie 24/7. By fans, for fans.
How's everybody doing? It is Paul from Magpie 24/7, out and about again today, the morning after the shit show before. Goodness me, I think you all know what I'm referring to. England v Scotland on the TV last night. The hype, the build up, the glare off Graham Souness's fucking teeth. What's all that about? Jesus wept. And the match itself was a ball fest, a shit show, a load of crap, a waste of time. No England player decided to break fucking sweat. When your best player is fucking wee arms Jordan bastard Pickford, and he still can't touch the bastard crossbar, you know the times are fucking hard. I've said this once, I'll say it again. I've said it a million times before. For those of you before, like previously on NFTV, when we've done stuff and touched on the England setup, even now since Magpie 24/7 over the past year, I have consistently said, and I will remain to think so, even if he wins the bloody tournament, which is still a possibility, although a much less possibility after last night, But how the fucking hell is Gareth Southgate England master manager? I don't know. To me, call me old-fashioned, but England management or international management used to be the savior of the older professionals. So you would get your football manager who served his apprenticeship, who worked his way up, who done the European rounds maybe, who'd been in continental competition, who had experience of winning stuff, etc, etc. And then when you get into the sort of latter years of your management, you would go to international football, and that is where you would finish up your career as an international football manager. These days, you go to fucking Middlesbrough. Jesus fucking whip, give me strength. Yeah, you go to Middlesbrough, and then you're in the England under-21s, and somehow a bottle job player gets an opportunity at Middlesbrough, gets some time with the under-21s, and all of a sudden people think he's great. You get through to the latter stages of the competition, and let's face it, I maintain this all along, this isn't just a knee-jerk reaction. Last time out, it wasn't until we played Croatia that we played anybody half decent, and as soon as we did, we got found out and we got knocked out of the competition. And time again, for me, he has proved the fact that he is not the man for the job. It's as simple as that. Look at last night. He took Foden off. It was probably one of the better outlets, maybe, let's say, on the night, right? And he keeps Sterling on. Sterling, who was doing his best fucking Christian Atsu impression all bastard game, wandering around like a headless sheep. To be fair, I know he scored the goal last time out, but I think he's had a poor tournament. People get on about Harry Kane, and yeah, I'll touch on Harry Kane shortly, but Raheem Sterling, I think he's had a very poor end of the season with Manchester City. I think he's had a very, very poor dip off with the England setup. And again, you're looking at the substitutions and you're just scratching your head and you're thinking, what are you thinking about? There's players on the bench who, I think deserved an opportunity. I'm looking at performances when people have come off the bench, even against Croatia, and I'm thinking, those players coming off the bench certainly spiced things up, was certainly putting a few tackles in and this, that and the other. Last night I saw none of that in a supposed derby match, in a supposed game of the biggest most historical rivals of world football, England and Scotland. I saw Scotland fighting for it and putting a passionate performance together, but I did not see anything like that from England. They didn't seem to get up from it, to get up for the match at all. They weren't in the mood. They didn't have the mojo going. We looked lethargic, we looked slow, we looked like we didn't have a plan A, never mind anything else. It is something. I mean, Scotland are the third lowest ranked team in the competition, yet we made them look like probably the third best. And if they had a striker, a half decent striker, they would have won that by 2 or 3 goals clear last night. And it's only because of the woeful finishing by Scotland that they didn't come away with anything. They should be disappointed. They should be disappointed that they didn't win that game last night. Because, oh my word, they had the better chances. I know Stones, tickled the wood and everything else like that. That is as close as England come. But we didn't deserve it. Let's be brutally honest. England did not deserve last night to get anything more, at the very best, than what they got. And some will argue that getting a draw when you don't play very well is a good result. And yes, I see that logic. You haven't lost, and it's important in tournament football not to lose if you're not playing too well. I get that, and I respect that totally as a point of view. But to me, England, one of the supposed favourites, going up against Scotland, one of the supposed whipping boys, it should have been easy street last night. I predicted 2-0. I know others predicted a similar sort of scoreline, for the game. I think everybody was confident, and I think that's why it probably feels a little bit worse. And the thing is, you could take a draw if the performance was there behind it, if the substitutions to change things were there, but they just weren't. Kane looking awful once again, looking lethargic, looking like an absolute poor man's Shearer. And again, is his head turned with all this talk of transfers and new clubs and all this, that and the other? You just don't know, but he certainly doesn't look like the Harry Kane that everybody knows, from the Premier League and from, the qualification for the tournaments and stuff. He looks totally and utterly away with it, to be honest. So, big call in the next game. Do you persevere with Harry Kane, or do you bring somebody else in, a Rashford, or do you bring in anyone? But it is a major call. I can't help but think he will persevere with Harry Kane and look to tweak things maybe around him. I think Raheem Sterling's got to have question marks over him. I think Rice has. I think we've got too many holding players in midfield. I think we need to be a little bit more expressive. We need a little bit more range of passing. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jordan Henderson. I know another fucking Mackham. How things are getting desperate, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Jordan Henderson back in. I think we got away with a few things defensively as well. So again, will any tweaks be made to the defence? Will Harry Maguire, who's been training now for a few days, will he come back into the defence? Will he try to spice it up a little bit down the fullbacks? He does have options down there. The lad from Leicester has to again surely come into consideration, or but yeah, Gareth Southgate needs to have a hard, long look at himself and think about stuff and stop picking the fucking names and start picking players on form. Start picking players to make up a team, because it's not the names. It's not a case of, well, I've got to fit him in and I've got to fit them in. It's the, you don't have to have the best parts to have the best machine. So it's about the combination as opposed to the individual shiny parts or anything else like that. So let's look at some of it. These players who have been in have pretty much fluffed the lines, but to me, definite work in the midfield engine room, because it just wasn't there all night. And whatever you do, next time Graham Souness comes on, fucking hell, give us some warning so I can put a pair of bastard sunglasses on. Jesus, wet man. Them fuckers are bright. Hey God. Anyway, England move on. They've got 4 points. They're strongly placed. If we can beat the Czech Republic, they will top the group. That's good. But it's a big if they play like that again. It really is, in my opinion. So yeah, pick players on actual form. Try and think about the machine being better as a collective rather than individual stars. And let's cross our fingers and let's hope England get the business done. We top the group and then we move on, and happy days and all that sort of thing, because yeah, it's it wasn't great, to sum it up, and to put it mildly. It was not great last night. Much better needed. England probably got lucky to draw with the Scots, to be honest, last night. So yeah, sometimes I suppose you've got to ride a little bit of luck, and that is certainly what we did on last night, as I just get through a very tight obstacle there, but we got through. Anyway, let's hope that England also managed to get through what is a bit of a tight and difficult situation at present. Anyway, keep your eye out later today. We've got more Newcastle United videos coming up. The second part of the Keep and Sell, that's coming up, and some other videos that we recorded last week Just trying to sum up the Newcastle season that was. Still no movement in the transfer market, still no kits. They must be playing in them invisible kits or something like that. Probably be playing in trainer bibs next season as a cost-cutting measure. Fucking hell. No signings, no nothing. But as soon as anything changes, we'll let you know. Magpie 24/7. Take care, keep it tuned, and I'll speak to you later.